Hello, I'm Dave March, the Spy Guy, and today I wanted to talk about the from this book here on what secret agents are like and what they are not like. And from here, we're talking like the secret agent is the crux of any fictional spy story. Dashing, glamorous, athletic skill, the list of the agent's abilities and competences goes on and on. The fictional agent is often a loner, a jack of all trades, capable of handling his own combat, communications, demolitions, gymnastics, and virtually any other challenge that might arise, including in the early James Bond movies, having obscure knowledge of obscure facts just to piss off Q. Alternately, and especially effective for role-playing situations, the fictional agent is part of a small and specialized team where the above abilities are not shared by any single individual, but spread amongst the team, more like the ensemble shows we see today. They are relatively fearless, or certainly capable of overcoming the fear in order to get the job done. A lot more. This was a book from the 80s, so they haven't had as much experience with the dark anti-heroes suffering from PTSD that fills most of our TV drama today. Uh, the fictional secret agent is almost without exception a man or woman of action. While the agent is intelligent, perhaps even brilliant, the problems are much more likely to be solved by sudden, dramatic, and often violent action. Except for we now live in a world with Jean Le Carre novels, so we do get to see occasionally the and movies and TV shows where we get to see the opposite often happening. Uh, the real life agent, on the other hand, is likely to be not very different from you or me. The pages of the sort of this book are full of people with petty frustrations and anxieties and flaws. We should do something about the CIA has this like mice doctrine. I can't remember all the or acronym that really applies to all spy motivations, and I'll have to look into that and talk about that later. I know like the I stands for ideology, which you don't get as much as it used to have. They might be a little more intelligent and physically fit than the average person, and will certainly have received training in many areas. Some of those areas might even include combat, but the real secret agent is not a walking SWAT team. Most agents don't go around carrying guns. Guns will get you in trouble. Until now, like now CIA is kind of been militarized with their drone program and the specialized and special forces uh, not JTF, just anyways, there's a bunch of acronyms that are not coming into my mind right now, but really describe what's going on. And I'll have to get into some of that in another video. Chances are that his area of personal expertise could be in academics, usually foreign languages, political science, or law, instead of a list of knowing all these different type of weapons. The great majority of real-life secret agents spend their time thinking, analyzing, collating, translating, and reporting to someone else. The agent is likely to have a specialty, perhaps in a very narrow field, and his or her activities are almost exclusively tied to that specialty. If a problem moves out of an agent's area of spec, it is likely to be turned over to another agent. Well, many, probably most real spies are brave. The dramatic suicide mission is almost exclusively the province of fiction. Any of the very few historical missions that might fall into this category have most likely occurred during wartime. Real spy is likely to spend a great deal of time on a cover occupation, probably to the extent of performing that occupation as a full-time job. Common covers for these people include diplomatic posts, military assignments, or jobs as journalists or other professionals. Journalists, not really, because too many journalists mimic the needs of spies, so they are under intense scrutiny while they're in by foreign agents who think they are spies, and they are kind of spies, but they're working for the private sector as opposed to the public sector. So it's very rare to see an actual cover where someone is a journalist as a spy. Though there is this fascinating thing where a bunch of 50s and 60s magazines are co-opted by the CIA, funded by the CIA as cultural propaganda against the left and against foreign powers. There's a book out there. I heard it on a podcast. It's kind of interesting. The truly dramatic moments in nonfiction espionage are often situations where some analyst correctly relates two pieces of data that enable a larger puzzle to be solved. Drama of the moment might not be obvious until much later, if ever. Going into the antagonist. There's another clear-cut difference between the fictional and non-fictional spy genres. We have all encountered the supervillain, that essential ingredient to many a spy thriller bent upon world conquest or even world destruction. Most villains don't actually want to destroy the world. After all, that's where they keep their stuff. There's a few people like Hitler who, in the end, have this basic Armageddon feeling that, well, we've all failed, so we all should die now. The villain concocts scheme after scheme to try and snare the heroic secret agent. His plots and plans are undeniably evil, and most points of comparison between real life and fictional espionage, the real life adversary's secret agent is considerably more mundane, even to the point of generally not being identified as a single individual. World communism, the Soviet Union, communist China, or just like a fascist Italy. Like, you're often up against a nation state or its support structure. I guess there's some corporate espionage where you could see that. Certainly some people might, I have definitely heard that Elon Musk qualifies as a supervillain, as well as Jeff Bezos, what with their private secret space programs and all. That's just a little joking there, but I actually think that I was at a conference a few years ago where someone said, we got to really look at these giant super billionaire types who have their own agendas that rival large corporations or nation states. Organizations. So KGB, CIA, we were already talking about the CIA in a previous video. Perhaps the biggest myth about secret agents involves the fact that they are all experts with firearms who wouldn't think of embarking upon a mission unless they are armed to the teeth. Happily, most is not the case. A great majority of actual intelligent personnel do not carry weapons on the job. We used to still listen to the Spycast podcast, but the first guy who there was a case officer for 35 years. He said he never fired a gun, and only time he actually would take a gun in the field when he was assigned to Vietnam, because everyone had a gun. True, some of the fancy gimmicks commonly used in spy literature have their basis in fact. The old cyanide capsule and the hollow tooth trick was used by Nazi agents as a World War II as a last resort to avoid grueling interrogation. True, it turns out the Allies almost never interrogated their spies in that way. They basically said to them, look, you got one of two choices. You either work with us or you're going to be hanged. And the vast majority of agents chose to be hanged, to work with the British. Sorry, not hanged. One of the reasons is that the Abwehr, which was the German spy agency, which I'll go into in later videos, just did not recruit people who are ideologically capable. That happens much later in the war when the SS take over whatever remained of German intelligence agencies. They recruited kind of like losers. And yeah. So yes, there are some very deadly and specialized firearms that have actually been invented for and employed by real-life secret agents, including a 22 single-shot pistol concealed within a ballpoint pen. Cars, however, another matter, since the agent's primary objective in real life is to remain undetected. He is far more likely to drive a beige Ford Escort or a Sentra or something like that than a fire engine red Ferrari. So that's enough for this video. I'm going to probably end it here and go and start working on something else. But I just wanted to give you a bit more of talking about real life spies, and I'm going to go and do another video. I'll follow this up with a couple of more videos on real life spies. We'll probably get into I have a copy of a book called How to Be a Counterintelligence Agent. I'll be talking about that as well. So this is kind of a new thing on the Spy Guy Report, where we're going to talk about real life spies versus fictional spies, and then we'll get into real life spy agencies, which I already did. So I'm just going to start making video streams of different things here as we get away from live news reporting and to actually talking about history. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on the next video. Oh, before I go, be sure to like. I should have done it at the beginning because most people aren't watching to the end. But be sure to like, share, subscribe, watch. Thanks. Bye.